Hey, you crazy cats! 42's live streams and videos are simply not available on vinyl. You will have to go to the YouTubes for that. So if you want content about British traditions and culture, cutting edge social commentary from an unapologetically patriotic perspective, along with a side order of madness you simply will not find anywhere else, then this is the place for you. And to all those early adapters in the chat, don't forget to hit the notification bell. That's how you get the good stuff and make sure you never miss a tasty treat. So with that being said and done, squeeze yourself in. Let's get into it. You know you want to. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Please delete as applicable as the internet is worldwide and time zones are a thing. Can I get a wee audio check in the chat, please? And a very warm welcome to the show, people. Going to do a couple of hellos. Ludwig, what about you, chum? Glad to have you here. Sansom, great stream earlier there. Really enjoyed that. Yes, see, I'm copying a bit of Dangerfield, put an attractive picture and see if it draws anybody in. You'll be surprised with the content. Yes, MG looks exactly like that. He also got Ugly Truth. Evening, sir. Ragnar Orangebeer, also brother. Glad to have you here. Linda Hunter from Down Under. What about you, chum? Quack, quack. It's a duck. Ugly Truthful had you. October, evening, brother. I'm a G saying hello to Linda. It's a duck. Steve Craig, made it over. Glad to have you here for a live one. Oh, audio proper strong one. Thank you. It's a duck. Ragnar's confirming. Streaky Bacon, what about you, chum? Faking dude. Evening. That's everybody. We've got all our hellos out of the way. And before we get started, very warm welcome to everybody that came across from the Bonnie Lads stream news. Bonnie Lads back to streaming again on Saturday night slot. So very warm welcome to everybody that filtered in from there, and to anybody that was not at that stream. If you enjoy my stuff, you're going to like that stuff too. So get yourself over there before me on Saturday evening, starting at, is it 8 or 8:30? I think it's 8. Right. What else do I have? Tomorrow night, Ragnar Orangebeer is streaming. I think I've got the time here. Yeah, here we go. Tomorrow at 9, Ragnar's going for a later start on some of these. Ragnar's Jack and Rags will be playing host to Sam Melia. I don't know that person, but I expect it to be a good stream. Rory Herbert, welcome, sir. Glad to have you aboard. What else we'll have? On Tuesday night at 8 p.m., the Welsh National stream number 6 on Joe Marsh's channel with Patricia from Off the Grid Ireland. That could actually be quite interesting. And Chief Moody. And as always, you can catch up on John Davidson's channel, leader of the Pensioners Party, which is not just for pensioners, it's for everybody that wants to be a pensioner at some stage, which hopefully is all of us. He's every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 9 o'clock. That's all our normal shout-outs done. We're all good. Who else has slept in here? Don Browning from Down Under, along with Linda. Good. Glad to have you here. Streaky Bacon saying hello. Was there anybody else? Rory Herbert. It's a one-off because Sam is PA and they have a Sunday stream. Right, I experienced that. Why there's a time change on the reg stream. Yeah, I'm I'm hoping to actually get back to the gym again on Sunday nights, so I might actually have to watch out on catch up, but we'll see. Gammon Sandwich, what about you, chum? Glad to have you here. And just check through, is there anything else in this chat I really need to be engaging with? I think it's all good. We're all good. And with that, I'm going to start bringing up our content. First thing we're going to talk about is Imbolc, I think is how we're pronouncing this. I'm not sure. I haven't heard the name. I've seen it written down. But Sansom did a good job of pronouncing it, and I wish I had fucking recorded that so I could figure it out exactly. But we will see. I think I'm going to zoom this in a little bit more before I bring it onto the stream, and here we go. How's Dax on the lark? He always says what? Oh, England for the English. Welcome, Sam. Glad to have you here. And here we go with our first bit of content for the evening. And Imbolc is how I'm going to go with Imbolc, which is actually connected to the thumbnail picture. Imbolc is a pagan holiday celebrated from February the 1st through to February 2nd based on a Celtic tradition. Imbolc was meant to mark the halfway point between winter solstice and the spring equinox in Neolithic Ireland, Scotland. The holiday is celebrated by Wiccans and other practitioners of neo-pagan, pagan-influenced religions. Imbolc is just one of several pre-Christian holidays highlighting some aspect of winter and sunlight and heralding the change of the seasons. The celebration of Imbolc dates back to pre-Christian era in the British Isles. The earliest mentions of Imbolc is in Irish literature were found in the 10th century. Poetry from that time relates to the holiday to use milk and the implication of purification. It's been speculated that the ritual stems from the breeding cycle of sheep and the beginning of lactation. The holiday was traditionally aligned with the first day of spring and the idea of rebirth. Now, Bridget the Goddess, which is where the thumbnail comes in. I just want to have a quick check in the chat because I can't see anything whenever I'm actually reading. Robert Ingram, welcome to the stream, sir. And Edmund, what about you, Sean? Exile Viking. Exile, I got a question. Are you Viking dude that's been changing your name, or is Viking dude somebody new here? Because I was a little bit confused with that. But now I've seen you in the chat, I thought I will ask. Right, let's see. How's that? What about you, Sean? Right. Yep, and before this week, neither had I. This is the joys of starting to do a stream that focuses on ancient British traditions, because I'm starting to find out shit that I never knew anything about. Do get updates on the Notting Hill Carnival every year, but yeah, our stuff, no, not so much. Spanish chickens on the work. We have 2 Vikings. Good. Only thing better than 1 Vikings, 2 Vikings. So there we go. Back to this. Yes, Bridget the Goddess. The thumbnail is a personification of Bridget the Goddess in human form. I went with that. Imbolc celebrations took the form of a festival in honor of the pagan goddess Bridget, who was evoked in fertility blessings and oversaw poetry, crafts, and prophecy. Bridget was worshipped by the Field, a class of poets and historians among the Celts of ancient Ireland and Britain, because we always had we have always had a long tradition of oral history. Bridget was considered one of the most powerful Celtic gods, the daughter of Droga, the oldest god in the Celtic pantheon, Trudeau de Donna. I've butchered that, but I really don't care. She has 2 sisters also named Bridget, although it is speculated that these sisters were meant to symbolize different aspects of the same goddess. Bridget appears in the saga Calf Mill Tuaird and the Liber Gilwad More Leprechaun, and a purported history of Ireland collected from the various poems and texts of the 10th century. Myths about Bridget's birth say she was born with a flame in her head and drank the milk of a mystical cow from the spirit world. Bridget is credited with the very first keening, a tradition of wailing for the dead practiced at funerals by Irish and Scottish women. Not so much anymore. I just want to check the chat. Oh. Linda Hunter's confirmation name was Bridget. Lapping on routine, evening rags. Oh, right, now I got it. Rags is saying he's also Viking, so we've got 3 of them. Right. That's okay. We're all cool. Ancient Imbolc. In pre-Christian times, Imbolc observance began the night before February 1st. Celebrants prepared for the visit from Bridget into their homes by crafting an effigy of the goddess from bundles of oats and rushes. The effigy was placed in a dress and put in a basket overnight. The day of Imbolc was celebrated by rituals including burning lamps and lighting bonfires in tribute to Bridget. Now we're going to move on to Saint Bridget, which is a totally different person, just has the same name. Just a coincidence. Over the centuries, Bridget was adopted into Christianity as Saint Bridget, one of Ireland's 3 patron saints. The Catholic Church claims Saint Bridget was a historical person with accounts of her life written by monks dating back to the 8th century. One interesting thing about Ireland having 3 patron saints, the other 2 were not actually saints, they weren't canonized. Patrick and can't remember the other guy's name, the one that had a conversation with the Loch Ness Monster. It all gets a little weird. Bridget is the patron saint of Irish nuns, newborns, midwives, dairymaids, and cattle. Whether or not she existed, these stories contain aspects in common with the details of the pagan goddess and illustrate the transition from pagan to Christian worship. Because the Church of Rome would never have took pagan festivals and stuck a Christian one on top of it. Not a chance of it. Like the goddess Bridget, St. Bridget is associated with milk and fire. Born in Ireland around 425 AD, St. Bridget was the daughter of the daughter of a slave and a chieftain who was celebrated at an early age for her agricultural knowledge. With no interest in marrying, Bridget's goal was to create a monastery in Kildare, supposedly the former site of a shrine to the Celtic goddess of the same name. Bridget lived her entire life there. She was renowned for her charity to the poor and stories around her healing powers. Bridget was a friend of St. Patrick. I want to stick a pin in that because I'm not sure what time St. Patrick was allegedly in Ireland, but I'm not quite sure that they were concurrent. Whose preaching set her on a course at an early age, and she became Ireland's first nun. St. Bridget is said to have died at 425 AD. The remains of her skull and hand are claimed to be in the possession of churches in Portugal. Why the fuck would the Portuguese get that? In the 12th century, legend holds that the nuns of Kildare attended to a fire built in St. Bridget's honour. The fire was burned for 500 years and produced no ash, and only women were allowed in proximity of the fire. The celebration of St. Bridget's Day on February the 1st was put in place by the church to replace Imbolc. On her feast day, an effigy of St. Bridget of Kildare traditionally washes in the ocean surrounded by candles to dry. The stalks of wheat are transformed into a cross talisman known as Bridget crosses. Now, modern Imbolc. The modern celebration in Imbolc is considered a low-key, loose, and sometimes private affair concerned with reconnecting with nature. Since it's a climate-specific holiday, some followers of the Wicca religion adjust their celebrations of it to correspond with a date more appropriate to the coming of spring where they live. Others embrace the symbolism of the holiday and keep it to February the 1st celebration. The goddess Bridget is central in the celebration of modern Wiccans. It is the tradition of the original Celtic festival. Wiccan groups that worship Bridget might include fire rituals on Imbolc. Traditions from both the pagan celebrations of Imbolc and the Christian celebration of St. Bridget's Day can be found in the modern Imbolc celebration. Celebrants sometimes make a Bridget cross out of reeds, as well as a Bridget corn doll or effigy. It's going on to talk about Candlemas a little bit here. I'm going to read that anyway, but that is going to be our next subject. Candlemas is a Christian holiday celebrated on February 2nd that has aspects in common with Imbolc. Its celebration can be traced to the 4th century Greece as a purification holiday and celebration of the return to light after winter's darkness. Candles have traditionally been used in its observance. It's possibly that Candlemas is a Christian adaptation of the Roman holiday February, a purification and cleansing day. I'm not going to read the bit about Groundhog Day. I think we're pretty much done with that. I'm going to remove that. (386 AD). Is that St. Patrick's arrival or death? At Rags. Viking dudes got questions. What part of Scandinavia are your Viking brothers from? Alex said Viking. Are you related to Halfdan, which is a Viking name mentioned in Half Danish Between, by the way? St. Patrick must have been African. Yeah, well, the one thing that he definitely wasn't was fucking canonized. He was never a saint. Exactly. Frigid Bridget. Oh, fuck, cream and paper, cracker. There was a goddess called Bridget, whose pronouns were frigid and digit. She then mixed the two, producing a glue. And hail the young suitor's small widget as excellent Raymond. We got birth, right, okay. 386. Let me just check this. Right. If I share this, right, put this back on the stream. We have Bridges said they've died in 524. And $386. Yeah, Paddy must have lived quite a way for them two to be friends, rolling about together. You can smell the. Oh, and other news, the other thing that happened this week on the 1st of February, I'm not sure about England, Scotland, Wales, but Northern Ireland, that's the first day that the farmers are allowed to spread slurry because they believe that the weather's will have changed enough that it won't cause runoff in the waterways. So there's slurry all over the place. And the smell of the bullshit and Bridget and Patrick knowing each other is even stronger than that fucking slurry. Bridget over the River Kwai. Yep. Right. So there you go. There's Imbolc and Bridget. Right. Yes. Now take a current comment away. And we're going to jump into the next bit, which is going to be Candlemas. And get this up. Which is coming from the Britannica. And again, people, if you want to look back on any of that stuff, the links. Far too much blasphemy in the chat. Yeah, Rory Herbert. Right, people, calm down. Rory Herbert's sensibilities are getting a bit on tenterhook, so cut the blasphemy out, please. We're not really serious. Don't worry. We're all good. Share screen. Whenever you look into a lot of the church stuff, you'll find that for a religion that preaches thou shalt not steal, we've got a hell of a lot of pagan stuff in them. Yes, Candlemas. Candlemas is a religious festival. Right, we're going to get straight on this. Candlemas, also called Presentation of the Lord or Presentation of Christ in the Temple, or Hyphenate, Christian festival on February 2nd, commemorating the occasion when the Virgin Mary, in obedience to Jewish law, went to the temple in Jerusalem, both to be purified 40 days after the birth of her son Jesus, and to present him to God as her firstborn. That's from Luke chapter 2, verses 22 to 38. The festival was formerly known in the Roman Catholic Church as the purification of the Blessed Virgin Mary and is now known as the Presentation of the Lord in the Anglican Church. It is called the Presentation of Christ in the Temple. In the Greek Church, it's called hypanet, meeting, in reference to Jesus meeting in the temple with the aged Simon. The earliest reference to the festival is from Jerusalem, where in the late 4th century, the Western pilgrim Ethra attended its celebration on February 14th, 40 days after Epiphany, then celebrated as Christ's birthday. Now, why this date has jumped, why this date has jumped has also got to do with calendar change. Hold on 1 second, just to check something out. Where'd that go to? Boom, 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 boom. Right, no, we've lost that. Fuck it, never mind. Celebration. Sansom, was that telegram you just sent important? If you're still in the chat. I think Patrick was actually from Wales. I'll get back to that. Celebration. It soon spread to other eastern cities, and in 542, Justinian I decreed that its date should be moved back to February 2nd, 40 days after Christmas. By the middle of the 5th century, the custom of observing the festival with lighted candles had been introduced. The name Candlemas developed from this custom. In the Western Church, Pope Sergius I, 687 to 701 AD, instituted the festival in Rome. In the East, it is primarily a festival of Christ. In the West, it is primarily a celebration of the Virgin Mary until the calendar reform of 1969. I'm not sure what calendar they did in 1969. Hold on. No, I don't think that bit on down has got anything to do with us. See all related content. Right, I need to zoom this out a little bit. All right, no, that's us. We don't need any more of that. Thank you very much. We're just checking the chat. Right, okay, we're all good. Oh, yep. Second bit about Candlemas. I knew there was more, but I forgot which way I fucking organised that. Now my phone's making noises. I'm a G. You know what's happening. It was a bit of a mess today. All right, it's from Building Faith. Right. Yes, which does get into that. That's exactly true. That's what my phone was telling me. Faking dude. This is true. Christian customs certainly do coincide with a lot of pagan customs. Unfortunately, paganism appears to have been cast aside by a certain set of Middle Eastern cultures for governing purposes. Well, you see, here's the thing. It's very hard to change a whole culture while they still have their old beliefs. And the best most thorough way to remove the old beliefs is to put your new ones on top of the old ones, integrate them, which allows the people for the first couple of generations to go along with it. And over time, the old ones are lost. Right. Present, share screen. A little bit more about Candlemas. On February 2nd, quaint tradition unfolds known as, well, to school children and adults alike, the fate of spring hangs in the balance as a burrowing animal looks for its shadow. But where did this tradition come from? For centuries, the 2nd of February has been celebrated as Candlemas, a Christian feast day. Candlemas is also called the Feast of the Presentation because it honours the day Mary and Joseph presented the infant Jesus in the temple, bringing their child to the temple and offering sacrifice to Jesus. Parents were following the Mosaic law, specifically Leviticus 12:16, as the Gospel Luke recounts. Whereas Candlemas is 2nd of February, the date of Candlemas is always February 2nd because of exactly 40 days inclusive after Christmas on 25th December. The Mosaic law stated the 40 days were the period of purification after the birth of a child, and so the presentation took place 40 days after Jesus was born. Incidentally, February 2nd is also halfway between the winter solstice and the spring equinox, so the date has always had significance to ancient people. This also may have something to do with the placement of the birth of Jesus Christ on 25th of December. That's not his actual birthday. That's the date the Church of Rome went with at the I believe it was the First Council of Nicaea, AD 325 or thereabouts, something like that. Columns became linked to weather predictions about the end of winter because of an old English poem. If Candlemas be fair and bright, come winter, have another fight. If Candlemas bring clouds and rain, go winter and come not again. It makes sense that early February was a good time to procrastinate about the weather, especially as February 2nd marks the midpoint between winter and spring, and the English poem appears to be the source of the shadow connection. Fair and bright, sun, shadow, more winter, while clouds and rain, no sun, no shadow, spring arrives, sun, soon. It seems counterintuitive. Why should a sunny day mean more winter? But this is the exact pattern of the Groundhog Day follows. So that Groundhog Day that they make a big fuss about, and there was a film about in America, came from here because the early adapters going to America were from here, and they brought their own stuff with them. Work away, have one for me. True, your village church is usually built on a mound, often built in Bronze Age, then used as a sacred place by the Celts, then the Romans then superseded by Christian church. Exactly right. Good comment, Mr. Raymond Piper. Candlemas traditions. The name Candlemas refers to the traditional processions and blessings of candles that came to characterize the feast day. To learn more about the symbols and practice of Candlemas, as well as the traditional activities, check out the Building Faith article by Christmas traditions. Here we go. Just follow the links. In Christian communities today, it continues to be a day of purification, renewal, and hope. Some call the day Candlemas. Local churches hand out candles and people bring their own to be blessed. Right. I'm going to drop out the bits of this that are exactly the same. Crepes and coins. It is traditional to eat crepes, thin pancakes, on Candlemas in some parts of Europe, such as France. Each family member prepares and cooks a crepe while holding a coin in hand. It is believed to assure wealth and happiness until the next Candlemas celebration. Another tradition involves taking turns to flip the pancake with a flick of the wrist, deftly maneuvering the pan with the right hand while holding the coin in the left. The crepes must not stick to the ceiling, or come back down in shreds. Achieving this feat successfully will bring happiness. Uh, 1 second, I need to drink and cough. Roy Herbert, 42, call me a traditionalist, but I still send out my rental invoices on the traditional quarter days. Lady Day, 25th of March, Midsummer Day, 24th of June, McMichael's, 29th of September, and Christmas. That's actually quite, that I like that. Uh, this is true. That's why so much of the pagan stuff is hid within the Christianity bit. Now, back to Candlemas. Oh, yes, there's something else I was going to say. Whenever I was reading this, because I do actually fucking check this, the links before I bring them to you, I thought that was going to be something to do with Pancake Day, but whenever I looked up Pancake Day, that's not until later on in the month. So this is a similar thing, uh, but at a different specified date. Candlemas is also known as Candle in Spanish-speaking countries. One tradition is that whoever found the baby figure inside the Rosca de Reyes King's Cake on Epiphany, January 6th, that person is obliged to bring food to the Candrella Gallery on February the 2nd. Candlemas bellflowers. Snowdrops are known as Candlemas bells because they often bloom early in the year, even before Candlemas. According to folklore, an angel helped those Candlemas bells to bloom and give them a sign of hope to Eve, who wept in despair over the cold and the and death that had entered the world. Many Christians see the flower as a symbol of Jesus being the hope for the world. Think that's all of that it is. So we've got that one done. And we're going good. Yeah. I'm not fully au fait with the names of the days of the week or the months of the year, but I'm pretty sure that the Romans had an involvement in that and they used their Roman gods. Uh, so where were we going next? Because we have more stuff. We have more. We're going to go to the salmon nets. Bump bump. Atlantis podcast. Welcome, Sean. Glad to have you here. They live by astrology. They live by the motion of the heaven and the firmament. October Wednesday is Wogan's Wogan's Day, Wogan's Day or Odin's Day. Very interesting. Viking dude. Jagardrus, more or less. Dude, I believe you, but I'm not going to pretend you understand what that means. Unfortunately. Share screen. Our next thing is going to be the blessing of the salmon nets. And this is coming from Calendar Customs. Were Northam, Northumberland, and Penwell landing down by the Tweed on the 1st of February. Used to be done in mid-February, and it happens at 8 a.m. Oh, and here's a picture of a priest. He's standing in the water, not on it. And he's also not doing that whole, what the heck? Now, what's this surely going to like? Because we'll have to extend this and it's all getting a bit. Right. Yes. Stick around. You'll hear me pronounce a lot of stuff wrong. So while the Vatican or whatever not changing names of the days of the week, like they changed the actual calendar from Julian to Gregorian, I've never heard an explanation for that. Right, okay. First off, there's a couple of reasons. The calendar change to Gregorian was done worldwide, and for quite a while, the Vatican and the European people were still on a different calendar to everybody else until they changed it. Getting in line with that was actually easy for the Vatican because, well, the rest of the world was doing it, and they had become the odd one out. For the Vatican to change the names of the days of the year or the months of the year that the rest of the world wasn't going to go along with would have been it just would have been ridiculous. They would not have got away with it. He's looking for his golf ball. Interesting fact. There were no names for days before the Romans, just dates. Right. This is getting so right. No, I can't. I'm going to have to zoom this out a bit. I think and see, does this work? Right. That's the size we're going with. This custom, which has evolved over the years, the Vicar of Brunswick used to place the water, nets, boats, and catch at night, performing the service in a boat on the River Tweed. I'd previously read that it happened just after midnight on St. Valentine's Day, but have it on good authority from the landowner himself that it was actually on the evening of the 15th, just before the annual dinner. Nowadays, the salmon are all caught by rod, not netted, and the customs changed to reflect this some years ago. It now takes place on February the 1st, unless this is a Sunday, and the blessing is performed by the Vicar of Norton, Rob Cleese, at a more civilised hour of 8 a.m. During the short service, the first line of the season is cast by Dean Cockburn when we fizzles into the waters of the Tweed, and afterwards and a wee dram and shortbread were handed out to everyone. And the those of you that don't speak Scottish, wee drams or a nip of whiskey. In 2023, it should be on Wednesday, the 1st of February. Members of the public are very welcome to attend, and it lasts around half an hour. It's a cordial and friendly occasion, and you can spot some wildlife while you're there too. When the first falls upon a Sunday, it moves to Monday the 2nd instead. It takes place at Pedwell Landing, which is up a small lane running north towards the Tweed to the eastern side of the church. There are a few car parking spaces besides. I don't think we really need to read that, but we will have a bit of a look at some of the pictures. There are some people, I think we're in song here because they're reading from the little bits of paper they give you. There's somebody, that's the guy casting the first line. And the bit that everybody comes from, a wee bit of a drinky poo and some shortbread. So there you go. That's the blessing of the nets. So I'm just checking through the contents. Yes, Ludwig. Rags, you're overdoing it, chum. That's a fucking Christian event, you degenerate. Right, so that's that. It's as we've seen going through these things, we do have a lot of festivals that are based on bringing in. We've seen a couple about blessing the fish for a better catch, and about blessing the fields, and lots of stuff around trying to make sure that the food stock, the food source is plentiful. Now, our last bit of planned content is rocking the cradle ceremony. So we're quite church based this evening. Just get this up. Right, hold on. I need to zoom this in a little. Right. One more. Yep. Yep, we're happy with that. Share screen. Right, just get this up and then we'll check the comments again because there's something I think I might need to get engaged with. Bible tells you who's behind changing times and laws. Right. Seven days a week is the only part that makes sense. left over from the age when cosmos was in harmony. Well, here's the thing about time and all that sort of crap. We're on a tangent here, people. So you've got 60 seconds to a minute, 60 minutes to an hour. That all makes sense. Then we go to 24 hours in a day. That makes no fucking sense whatsoever. To have two that are the same, one's different. So I would suggest we move to 30 minutes to an hour, 48 hours to a day. And because we get paid by the hour, we'll have to change some things, like, because we're not going to start work at 7 in the morning, which would have been the fucking middle of the night. We'll move that to, I don't know, but we'll move that about a bit, and then we'll only be working half days and we'll be getting the same pay. It sounds like a European regulation. It does. If you put that into the fucking EU, they would probably pass it without fucking thinking too much about it. But anyway, I digress. So I'm going to get back on the planned content because that tangent was getting a bit mad. Rockabye Baby, the Balworth cradle rocking. 'Twas in a cradle, decked and graced with flowers, antique ornament mothers and their infant children placed, and up the hill to church they went. From Fishpool cots they duly came, from Biddleworth and Fountain Dyke, and the good folk did just the same, who lived in Blydeworth in the Vale. Many such a good rocking there have been, such in the old church, the good loved well, which sanitizes the expanding scene within the sound of Biddleworth Bell. And we've got a nice picture there to the side of the fancy cradle and a little baby being put on it. The 2nd of February was an important date in the calendar, being was seen it as a day which heralded the beginning of the end of winter, a period when days began noticeably to length. Who the fuck wrote this? I might be able to translate this. The 2nd of February was an important date in the calendar, as it was a day which heralded the beginning of the end of winter and when days began to become noticeably longer. Across the country, and certainly in Tensdale of Nottingham, it was the official end of Christmas decorations, when candles must be thrown away and decorations should be burnt. A common countrywide belief was also upheld in Nottinghamshire, warned, if Candlemas Day be fine and clear, we shall have winter all the year. Variation of that poem. Weather warnings aside, Nottinghamshire has a unique Candlemas custom, unique in Britain and perhaps the world. It is one associated with the presentation of the baby Christ at the altar, which in pre-Reformation England, Mass at this time would have included the rocking of a cradle in the service as a visual aid for the largely illiterate congregation. It was possible that the baby rocking replaced the idea of doves being sacrificed, as in the Gospel of Luke, it records that when Joseph and Mary went to the temple for Mary's ritual purification and to perform the redemption of the firstborn by giving a poor sacrifice of 2 doves. Little appears to be recorded about this tradition countrywide, but it is thought to have died out with the Reformation. And there's a picture of a little baby in that elaborate cradle. Biddleworth Church on the Purification is the only church in England of that dedication and undertakes this unique tradition on the Sunday nearest to the date. However, there is some confusion with the tradition and that what appears to be a church ceremony had wider community expert aspect. The term rocking appears to have taken a wider context, especially as it is reported that much celebration occurred after the service, with the baby processed around the town. According to one of its earliest accounts, notes from and queries from 1926, the ceremony dates from the year 1200. Death at the Rocking. The earliest reference appears to be rather an unfortunate one. It is recorded in the Biddleworth burial register. Thomas Lake Esquire, 11th February AD 1599, killed at Biddleworth Rocking. Before concern set in of some violent cradle rocking, this was not a boy thrown from too much enthusiastic rocking. For the rest of the angry reads, 2 days before, aged 60 years after the brawl. Oh, I'm going to guess that this ceremony, like a lot of them, after the church bit, they have a drink bit, and then it turned into fucking Black Eye Day. Inside the church is a plaque which reads, "Here rests T. Lake, whose virtues were so known in all these parts that this engraved stone needs not relate, but his untimely end, which was in a single fight whilst youth did lend his order to valor. He east oppressed many slight danglers greater than his last, but will of fate in these things governs all he told out 60 years before his fall, most of which time he wasted in his wood much of his wealth and the loss of his blood. 1608, February the 4th. And English was written quite differently then, which explains why that was hard to read. Just going to check the comments. Oh, what are we wanting? Well done, Rex. Yes, smash that like. Thank you very much, people. Yes, 3 score. And 10 is what we're promised. They were also writing on a different fucking form of English. This isn't the website stuff. This is the what was etched at the time. It appears the tradition ceased around this date, although there is a record of Rocking Sunday, as it was called, still being celebrated in public houses. For many years, this was a feast day which coincided with the ceremony. People from Derbyshire and Yorkshire attended, and it was often a time for family reunions, as in many wakes. The tradition was still maintained in 1840, but would have appeared to have fallen into the abyss. And the Daily Express of the 26th of February 1915 records police arrest for drunkenness. I'm going to guess that this has turned into a drinking festival. We do not hear about the Rockings until it was revived in 1842 after a lapse of 150 years. It apparently soon lapsed, and its final revival in 1921 when Reverend John Loomis discovered a record by the Reverend Whitworth. There was a beautiful custom in Billinworth Church called the Rocking Ceremony, written in 1896. He thus thought it was a good idea to revive it and asking around found Ilse pattern of Fairlight Cottages, who had an ancient cradle which she donated. In 2013, I was lucky to speak with her great granddaughter, whose grandson sadly, due to poor weather, missed being placed in the cradle in 2012. The cradle, I was told, is first dressed in leaves on the Thursday before, and then on Sunday morning, early dress with flowers which have been standing in water to retain their freshness. The earliest report I could find is Notes and Quotes 1926, which states that the inclement weather had prevented the carrying of the cradle from the church, suggesting that this as part of the custom was established when the ceremony was resurrected. In this first report, the Reverend John Loudons officiated, and this rocking was the fifth that he had conducted, he having revived the custom which had been started in 1200 and discontinued a century ago. It does go on to state that Bishop Grantham was present and that the child was named Samuel. The church ceremony was finally revived in 1921, a report in 1936. In the picturesque village church of Biddleworth, the usual annual crowd assembled at Candlemas to witness the medieval custom of rocking the baby, as an act symbolic of the presentation of the Christ child in the temple. The last baptized baby boy in the parish is taken by its parents to the church at evensong, and during the service, the baby is presented by the priest at the altar and dedicated to the service of God. The vicar, Reverend W.T.C. Swingler, placed the baby in the centuries-old cradle, decorated with snowdrops, narcissus, and foliage within the altar rails, and rocked the cradle to and fro several times. A report on 12th of February 1938, the baby was John Raymond Bennett, and the only child of Mr. and Mrs. John Bennett of White Land, both natives of Blindworth. Taking the baby to an altar was decorated with snowdrops and white tulips. The vicar, John Raymond, the first present you at this altar, turning the congregation, he pronounced, he may grow never to be ashamed to confess the cross of Christ. Many to fight under his banner, to fight sin, the world, and the devil, to continue as a faithful soldier and servant to his life's end. The vicar then rocked the baby in the cradle, also decorated with snowdrops, immediately in front of the altar. The Bluewell Dispatch from 1963 report read, dating back to, hold on, yeah, I think we're skipping through to a permanent memorial because that's just different rockings, which are all going to be pretty much the same. In 2010, so in March of 2010, an illuminated steel rocking cradle sculpture being involved, local Nottingham County Councillor Jeff Murray said, the rocking ceremony is hundreds of years old and has been featured in the National Trust book. The sculpture is a wonderful way to celebrate this old tradition and complements all the history we have about Robin Hood and Sherwood Forest. Not quite getting the connection there, people. I also have a special connection to the rocking ceremony because my son was the 1983 Rocking's baby. The black metal cradle sat upon a raised brick platform with a detailed black can be found in the centre of the village. It is a fitting tribute to the country's most unique custom. So there you go. That's the rocking ceremony, which is also connected to Candlemas. Right, I'm going to check in through the chat, and that is We've done an hour. Here's what we're going to do. No, that's the wrong thing. Copy. Right. If anybody wants to come in for a chat, there's a link there. You can come on in. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he never existed either. Right. I'm going to try to. Oh, thanks, Amanda Lee. Thanks for coming in. So, what does all this mean? Am I missing something? Rocking the baby, right? What is it? What is so amazing about Candlemas? Christian rituals are mostly all meaningless, let's face it. Well, here's the thing. Whether you like it or not, our traditions, Christian or otherwise, need preserved because they are the things that link us with our past. And we need to continue our traditions. Which becomes a little difficult if you don't even know that they fucking exist. Which is why I talk about them. Some of them are going to be more interesting than others. Personally, I like anyone that involves a bonfire. But we pretty much need to keep that connection. Yeah. While we're waiting for anybody that wants to come in. Feel free to stick any question you have in the chat, and I will do my best to. Oh, here's Rory. Evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening.
Well, how's yourself?
I'm doing well. Hold on a minute. I have to cancel my my YouTube thing. There we go. We're on StreamYard now. There we go.
All right. Yes.
Is that better?
Yes. It was fine here, but were you getting the double talk?
I was indeed. Indeed.
Oh, that makes things very, very complicated.
Now, anyway, yeah, you mentioned Robin Hood, didn't you, just now?
Yes.
Did I ever mention that my roommate, Carrie Elwes, played Robin Hood Men in Tights? He was the main actor.
What?
Indeed. Yep, he was my roommate for a few terms at boarding school.
So he ended up in some sort of acting gig then, and then eventually ended up in the Men in Tights thing.
He played Robin Hood. Yeah, absolutely. He's. I'm just trying to think. He's best known for. Look up Carrie Elwes. You'll find him. But anyway, there we go. Just a little story to amuse you.
Yeah, that is quite amusing. It's always good whenever people that you've known for a while end up doing something like that. It is good. Sorry, I'm not cutting you off. DJ, welcome to the show, mate.
Well, how's it going?
Going good. And we've just found out that Rory's got a link to Robin Hood. It's off the charts.
Like every week, I see him in comment sections and streams, and he's always got a new story. I can't tell, Rory, if you're a bit of a Walter Mitty or if you're just a very, very interesting character. I can't. You've lived a pretty damn eventful life, that's for sure.
No,
Like-
DJ, no. What I say is historically correct. Let me just say that.
Look,
I'm just
he's-
bored.
he needs to change. He needs to change his surname. He's actually Rory Gump.
Well, there we go. That's like 42. Yeah. The Princess Bride. That was the movie I was thinking of. With
The
Carrie
Princess-
Ellis in it. The Princess Bride. Yeah.
Right.
Where he goes, the famous saying is, "As you wish," to the woman.
No.
Yeah.
You don't remember that, do you? No.
No.
Never mind. I am slightly older than you chaps.
Yeah, but the other thing is, I mean, you've lived in a couple of countries. You did quite a long time in the army. You were moving about here, there, and wherever. You went to boarding school. You know, these are things that are more likely that you'd have bumped into, being acquaintance with people that ended up doing more stuff.
Well, yes, certainly. I mean, to be honest, when I was at boarding school, my best times were actually down on the school farm. I used to get up at 5 a.m, take the milk all around the boarding houses, and in the sort of summer months, we'd bale the hay up on the back of a tractor and stuff. Yeah, much more fun than Latin education.
Yeah. So the boarding house had a farm from which they fed the staff and pupils.
The school had a farm. It had a 50-acre farm. Yeah, and that provided the milk. Yeah, for the boys. We used to, the old milk churns. Yeah, get up at 5 a.m, take the churns around to the boarding houses and bottles of milk for the masters. That sort of thing.
Was this milk getting any pasteurization?
No, it was straight from the farm.
I wonder would that still be legal?
Well, I know when I was growing up, a neighbour of mine, a friend of mine, used to send me out, with a little jug and
Yeah.
get the milk directly from the
Straight from the
tub.
cow.
Well, almost, absolutely. Delicious it was too.
Yep. That's a day and age. It's not coming back.
Well, I don't think we'll see it again, but
No.
never mind. Times change, I suppose.
Yes. Here, DJ, what have you been up to, chum?
Nothing really, to be honest. Just I was going through PDFs there while I was listening to your stream, and I've come across one. Yeah, I mean, the Scottish government's probably the gayest organisation on the planet as it stands anyway. But did you know, I'm not going to pull anything up, but just a wee fun fact for you guys. Did you know that the Scottish government have a PDF called, and I quote, "Using intersectionality in policymaking and analysis summary findings." And it's 13 pages of them justifying why brown people and disabled brown people and lesbian brown disabled people all are on different tiers of oppression and need to be prioritized depending on their intersectional needs. Because here in Scotland, we're a bunch of gay queer hugs. So I'm very proud of my government. They really are showing the way for the nationalist cause. So, taxpayers' money is going straight into the pockets of dickheads who are creating PDFs to talk about intersectionality when they're not talking about cutting your cock off and pretending to be a woman. It's a great day to be Scottish. What even is Scottish? I don't know. Because it's
sure.
intersectional.
I'm 100% sure that PDF has got to be absolutely fucking riveting.
Oh, it's fucking really, really eccentric,
Yeah,
intellectually thought out, quite clearly. Lovely colouring, of course. It's pink and white.
yeah.
Uh,
Look,
I mean,
yeah,
they really are. If they've got all the different categories of intersectional,
yes,
structural inequality, oh fuck,
yeah.
you name it,
Uh,
yeah.
is it moving in the whole any mention of the uh, race and gender being socially constructed?
Well, yeah, they call it. This is what I noticed that earlier on. They refer because they pretend that race doesn't exist, so
Right.
they call you. They say the white Scottish ethnicity. Well, that doesn't make any fucking sense, does it? But it's not like if race doesn't exist, then that means we're lumbered with referring to ourselves as our ethnicities, but they still call us white. Why call me white if race doesn't exist? I'm Scottish, then I know, but no, I'm a white Scottish ethnicity. But what does that mean? I don't know. But yeah, that's like. But yeah, they've got what is it? What does it mean to take an intersectional approach to policy making? I don't know. Well, there's plenty of bullet points to fill you in. Then they've got how can intersectionality be integrated through the analytical process? Yeah, I'm sure like the SP really thought this shit up themselves, Then they talk about marginalized groups, sampling techniques. Oh, it's just really gay. Spotlight example of how the concept of intersectionality has been used to identify and understand structural inequality in Scotland. Like this is non-ironically being publicized, and the reason I came across this PDF because there was a hyperlink on our fucking budget, the Scottish budget. The Scottish government released their budget the other day. This was a hyperlink. Like, what the fuck? I hate this country. I absolutely hate it. Bring on the Islamic Caliphate. That's what I say, because I'm fucking hot enough.
Like,
Well, TJ, I follow your Telegram channel, and I know you post an awful lot on it, and sometimes I try to read everything you say, but obviously it's all Scotland, which is what you do, but sometimes I just have to skip some of it and concentrate on the important bits. I hope you don't mind.
No, sorry. Sometimes I do tend to. I've actually sort of limited the length of my post there because I realised after like a year of doing it that it can come across as a bit irritable if there's too much text. But the reason I used to do it though is because a lot of people don't click on the article; they just read a headline. So I would go out of my way to post as much as I could, so people would fucking read it. You can't please everybody. Okay.
Well, no, it's all very useful information. It's just, sometimes it's hard to keep up with it all.
Oh, it's just never ending in this country. I mean, it was a few years ago, as I said in that stream me and said something 42 did the other week. We used to joke about Canada and Sweden being like just worlds away from all of the rest of us. Maybe 30, 40 years would be as bad as them. Scotland just went, hold my sambuca. Hold my sambuca, right? I'm putting on my high heels. I'll show you how it's done, boys. And we have just surpassed every country known to man with our fucking mullet, bowl cut headed feminist leader, alleged feminist, dykey woman, a bunch of gay nationalists and pro trans. What is a Scot? Well, who fucking knows anymore? It's all like we're the first country in the world to do X, Y, and Z, like the Paris Climate Accord, first country in the world to sign up, first country in the world to sign up to Agenda 2030, first country in the world to enshrine in law gay education, first country in the world to do the Climate Justice Fund. I mean, the list is endless, and it's all because we are just nothing other than an occupied country living in the territory of Britain. That's all we are. We're just a fucking puppet nation. And it's actually getting tedious, to be honest. It's just embarrassing. Intersectionality. Why is that in our budget, for fuck's sake? People are struggling. They don't know whether they heat their home or not. But oh no, Nicola Sturgeon and the gang thought it was a good idea to go, well, we better make sure that we leave enough money for the paraplegic black people. Fuck's sake. You know what I mean?
Well, you're making a lot of sense to me. I can say that for sure.
It's just a joke. Fucking joke, man. And then they actually quote, because they do that in all these PDFs. They've got like the bit at the bottom where they like get their information from. They're quoting Kimberly Crenshaw. Yeah, like the black dickhead. No, I know that sounded racist in context, but that wanker who like started the critical race theory stuff in America, just quote her nice as you like. Well, Jesus Christ. So our government budget is predicated on bullshit that Kimberly Crenshaw wrote once upon a time. Anyway, I'll stop ranting now. I'm just saying, I thought I would let you all know that I've probably killed several more brain cells tonight.
What I will say is you do excellent work on that. The time and effort that it takes to trawl through those documents is yeah, it's painful. I've been watching more and more of your stuff because it is good. It's very informative, and through you, I'm able to actually find out what the fuck's going on in the country. The amount of stuff that they do that's just fucking buried in red tape and hidden documents that, you know, and like you said there, that they published that in their budget, but it was via hyperlink, so it was there, but it wasn't there. You know,
Yeah,
it's fucking nuts. Anyway, we've got a quick question from Viking Jude about Rory. What regiment you're in? Are you two okay to hold the fort here for about 2 minutes? Till I go and turn my heating on and stuff.
aye.
Yeah, right. Okay, I'll be back in a minute or two.
Right. To answer that question, artillery. Yeah.
Nice. Fair play.
I used to fire the Royal Salutes at the Tower of London with the old 25-pounder guns. That was always fun.
Nice. Closest I ever got to that was my fucking air rifle. Eh?
It was very, very, very funny, TJ. When you fired the first round, the tourists were put behind a barrier, and they would just like jump back, you know, about a foot or so when the first round went off, because they had no idea how loud it was going to be. And interestingly, when you fire a gun, the old 25-pounders, you don't actually hear that from behind the gun because the sound goes out sideways. So I think the Tower of London, they've actually moved the fence back a little bit these days because it was just too scary.
Yeah. Imagine the kickback must have been bad though, surely. Is that the word you use when you're holding it or whatever, and it kind of like when you fire it and it goes back the way? Is that called kickback?
Well, no, recoil.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Don't know why I said kickback.
But that's within that's within the gun. You'd gosh, I'm trying to think. 64 gun salute, 100. Yeah, 64 rounds going off. Yeah, obviously planks. Otherwise, you'd destroy the south of London if they were live rounds. But,
might not be a bad thing.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Could you get them just strangely pointed towards? Oh fuck! Where do you call that place?
Holyrood.
No, the place in London, the estate where all the diversity is.
Well, it's mostly all of it is that.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Yeah, just far away, lads.
Who cares where the land's?
Yeah,
the rounds land. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know, just somebody sneak around and put live fucking rounds on. Oops. Because they all go at the one time, don't they?
Say again, 42?
They all go at the one time, don't they? It's like fucking fire the 64 rounds go.
No, not at all.
Oh, right. Yeah. And the one after the other.
It's like the 10 seconds between the rounds.
Right.
And
I will.
so you got number one gun, fire, and then 10 seconds later, number two gun, fire.
So after the first one, they'll figured it out and stopped.
What?
If somebody put in live rounds on the street,
right,
they'd stop it after the first one.
They certainly would. Yeah. But anyway,
that would be quite the negligent discharge.
Would be definitely be a negligent discharge. Good one, 42. I like that. Yep. Oops. Well, there we go. Sorry, someone asked me the question. What I did in the army, and there we go. That's one of the things I did. There's a little bit more to it than that, but I can't really say that now.
Yeah.
Oh, get in the bin, like. I'm still reading this nonsense there. 15 million over the course of this parliament on the new Women and Girls Empowerment Fund within the Equalities Programme. We will focus 500,000 on the budget on promoting equality of women and girls and supporting their rights. Through establishing a global citizenship fund as part of the future programme, we will provide more funding directly in country to smaller organisations in due course. Well, ain't that great and dandy? Yeah.
Well, could they please tell me what rights men and boys have that women do not? Women and girls do not.
This is what irritates me about individuals like the so-called intellectual powerhouses at the SNP. They seem to be about 20 years behind the times in the sense that they are peddling narratives that have been debunked. Like Jordan Peterson debunked all their narratives back in like 2015, but they're still running with them. Like disparities, they don't exist because of misogyny and outdated stereotypes. They exist because men and women are different. But we can't be having that. We can't be having that at all. So they've got all the policies been put into place to try and rectify these issues that don't exist. So
Jordan Peterson's debunking was the most half-assed job I've ever heard in my fucking life.
They didn't even need to do it. It wasn't difficult. All they were doing was adding up all the fucking like gender pay gap, for example. Like the men and women in an organization start up all their wages.
Yeah.
Oh, look at the difference. Men are getting paid more.
Well, what he forgot to do in that is just say in 1974 we brought in the Equal Pay Act, and it's now legal to pay people different rates for the same job based on their gender or race or anything. Very half-assed.
But even that in and of itself was enough to start butcher their narrative. But yet, it's almost as I say, it's like the 20 years behind here. They still peddle it, like all their crap, all their stupid narratives. Like another one, for example, I was listening this morning to. They're sitting in Parliament talking about female politicians, but they always include in their sentences like, and we know as if this is like a fact, even though it's literally not a fact. They say that, and we know that female politicians are deliberately targeted online and get a lot more abuse than their male counterparts. Well, that's been debunked. Fucking male conservatives from the Tory party for the last several years have been getting more abuse than any female politician in Westminster. That's been proven by lefty fucking papers. But no, not here in Scotland. No, we have to pretend something different because if not, they have no narrative to peddle. Just nobody pushes back though. Just nobody. They just sit there and just listen to this crap. So I don't know what planet they're fucking on, but I wouldn't mind their job. Paid. I'm being tens of thousands a year just to sit and talk crap. But
well, this is where it also gets interesting. It would be very interesting to have a look at Nicola Sturgeon's net worth. And
she's the most paid politician in fucking Britain. Did you know that?
Yeah,
she's more than the Prime Minister.
Yeah, but I would also question whether or not the net worth that she has is possible to get on the inflated wages that she gets, because I'm pretty sure she's making money elsewhere as well.
Oh, she's got to be. Plus, bear in mind, it came out recently that her gay husband gave the S&P 100 grand. Where the fuck did he get that from? Where did he have a spare 100 grand to just give to the S&P? Like, don't know what's good on there. But,
Oh my gosh! I mean, have you seen how much Tony Blair has made out of speeches since he was Prime Minister? And Boris Johnson as well. I mean, it's millions and millions of pounds.
Yes, but
wow.
here's the thing: while they were in power, doing the job of Prime Minister, it was highly illegal to just give them money to make sure certain laws get put through. So whenever they leave, they go and do their speaking tour and get their speaking fees where they collect on the stuff that they were promised while they were in power.
Well, that's an interesting one, 42, because I think that's why Tony Blair never joined the House of Lords. Because I think if he's paid for that, then he's not allowed to earn any other money.
Yes, he's not, and the money. There's more money in speaking events than there is in House of Lords. What a really interesting thing that we found out whenever it's the same with all that left wing stuff. Back in 2014, mostly me, got Belfast City Council to put on an event for International Men's Day. And whenever we were doing that, we asked for the same amount of money that was given for the International Women's Day event, which turned out to be $6,000. Right? So that's what we had for paying for everything to put on the event, and we had to book a venue because the City Hall was used. So we had to book a venue, and we provided a breakfast and a lunch, and we did all sorts of stuff like money. We didn't even use it all. But the International Women's Day event was a morning in the City Hall, which was free to them, and they had 4 speakers. So the 4 speakers got like $1.50 each.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where this is where a lot of money's made. That's sort of hidden, because if you can get your local council, your local government, whatever, to run an event that has speakers, you invite the speakers, and then those speakers collect on a speaker fee that comes from the taxpayer.
Were you ever a local councillor, 42?
No, I've never held any sort of part like that. What happened? I've done a hell of a lot of stuff about equal rights for men and boys, and I went along to my local councillor and explained everything, and I was like, would you do me a favour? Would you put forward a motion to have an event for International Men's Day? Because up until that point, there had been no government-funded, participated events for International Men's Day in the world. Because it's not treated the same as International Women's Day for a load of other things. So she put through the proposal. I actually wrote her speech for her, and it got passed, and we got the event. And that's whenever we found out about the money, and we began to put 2 and 2 together about how you see all these activists that on the face of it don't have a job, and they're going here, there, and wherever, and you're wondering how they fund it. They're funding it by speaker fees at different events. Universities pay, local government. Local government.
The only reason I asked for it is I stood as a UKIP candidate 3 times actually. Ended up in 2019 getting about 14% of the vote. But that's like a £9,000 basic salary for doing extremely little, turning up to a few meetings and stuff. but you can easily work your way up, to 30, 40 grand a year by sitting on certain committees and all that stuff. And that's how the system works, I'm afraid. It's,
Yeah, but at least at that point, they're part of the council are passing bills and whatnot. These are people who are not officially part of the government, but they're going around the circuit giving talks.
Stakeholders.
Yeah, like stakeholders, and they're picking up large paychecks, like $1.50 for a fucking half-hour speech. Please, come on.
Ridiculous.
And this is a gravy train, and this is how everything on the left is funded.
Well, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
They're
only in it for the money. They're not in it to represent their local candidate people.
Oh God, no. The women's aid is basically jobs for the girls.
Yeah.
That's how that works. And like your woman, Jess Phillips, she went from women's aid to member of parliament. It was 5 women's aid. She got selected for the Labour Party.
Wow. Is she still a politician? I haven't seen her in ages.
Oh yeah, she is. She's been keeping her head down because she was caught in 1 or 2 financial scandals to do with her expenses.
Holy shit, by the way. I'm gonna have to make a fucking video on this shit. Like, I can't believe what I'm reading here. Like, what the fuck? Where did it go? Wait. I'm not gonna read out everything, but like they've broken everything down at the end of this PDF and like wee bullet points and that. So they've got all the different categories. So there's like 1.4 million here, etc., etc. So they've got like children and young people, older people, disability, gender reassignment, and they've got 3.1 million will be provided for ongoing costs of the census, which for the first time included a voluntary question on trans status for anybody over 16. Like 3.1 million for that. What the fuck? But then they've got pregnancy and maternity, but then this one, race, and there's like 7 different bullet points. It's like, I won't read them all, but like, for example, there's one there where it says 4 million for funding of a migration strategy to sustain our work and deliver new commitments, such as the talent attraction and migration service. I've never even heard of this. They're just unveiling new hot topics hidden in amongst their PDFs, but 4 million. We don't even have devolved immigration powers in Scotland. Right? That's not a devolved matter. So why do they have 4 million set aside for that when apparently a cost of living crisis going on?
Yeah, but you might not have the ability to create your own policies, but you will have NGOs that are willing to work on that stuff, and because they're willing to work on it, they're going to need paid. So that's why they need the 4 million.
Aye, no, you do have a point there. And I mean, the SNP treat the asylum system as their immigration policy. Yeah? Like that's why they've gone well above and beyond in comparison to the rest of the UK in terms of how many like so-called Ukrainians they've taken in, because they don't have devolved immigration powers, but they can dictate how many asylum seekers come in. So that's sort of why they're doing it. But I'm just going to look up this talent attraction migration service, see what the fuck this is like. Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't know. Well, it came out in December. That's the first I've heard of it. Never a dull moment in my country, yeah. What I would give to live in Cambodia or Somalia or Pakistan or just,
DJ, I want to ask you a question. What's your opinion on whether there will be another referendum in Scotland?
I don't know it because I've said this before. It really just depends on who's pulling the S&P strings. Like, unless the plan is the long-term plan, I have thought that this might be a possibility, but the long-term plan is that they intend to break up the UK, which explains why devolution was allowed to occur. You know, get the ball rolling in Wales and Scotland. But it really, as I say, depends on who pulls the yes.
I think it also.
So if they're in just effectively a Scottish arm of Westminster, then I can't see a referendum ever happening. And if it does, it'll be rigged probably to ensure that Scotland doesn't leave. But if they're having their strings pulled from it, like, you know, it's been the case because all they ever seem to do is UN policies, like literally all they did, really. If that's the case, then I think that there's a high probability that that would mean that they're being sincere with their push for a referendum, and there's only a matter of time before they get it, and I do believe they'll win it. But not because everybody in Scotland wants independence, but because of how they're going about it. It was recently, I just made a video on it earlier on today, actually. They've said, I knew this anyway, but it's nice to be proven right once in a while. They've effectively come out again and said that in the event of getting a referendum, they're going to treat it as a double referendum. So a vote for independence is an instantaneous or a simultaneous vote to rejoin the EU. They've ruled out a referendum to rejoin the EU, which then by extension forces people that want independence and people that want to rejoin the EU to vote the same way, obviously. And that's a guaranteed win for them. So I don't know. As I say, it really just depends on who pulls their strings, really.
Do you really think that the majority of Scotsmen want that, or is it just pushed on them by the government?
Well, the thing is, like, what really irritates me is the fact that with all this crap that's going on now, this cost of living nonsense, and like, you know, even the lockdown and the total crippling of our economy, and now the oil and gas industry has been defunct effectively. But they're blaming it all on Brexit, but they never ever addressed the elephant in the room, which was their deliberate policies and whatnot. But the media never pushed back on them. The media ran with that narrative too. And I think for a lot of people, they've got no reason to believe otherwise. They genuinely do believe that Brexit is the cause of all these issues. And while that's been happening, for years, the SNP have been quite clever in the sense that they've blurred the lines between independence and the EU. They made them one and the same. So now people, with the revisionist history, people don't even question it at all. They've fallen for it. They genuinely do believe that independence and the EU are the same thing now. And I do think if there was a referendum tomorrow, it would be. I don't think it would go the way I wanted to go. That's for sure. I hope there isn't one, really, because
the problem is that would it be a single referendum or a double referendum? With double referendums, bollocks. But
that's what I'm saying. Like,
it will get them a vote.
He said it last week that it will be a vote. The vote would be to stay in the UK or rejoin the EU. So they're calling it independence, but it's not. It's just gaining your independence from the UK to rejoin the EU. That's all it is. But yeah, but for some strange reason, people don't seem to acknowledge the fact that all the arguments that are made against the UK, like, oh, we're in a union, we're not independent, but the same arguments are literally could be made about the EU, but they don't care. They just don't care. And then the nonsense they're coming away with as well, like, oh, we need back in the EU so we can have free movement of people. Like, oh yeah, you're really selling it to me, like, oh yeah, I'll vote for independence so I can have my borders bombarded with BAMEs. That sounds great. Fucking wow. Well, that's what they want. They want to follow the footsteps of the Republic of Ireland. And I think they're going to get it. It's just a question of when, really.
Well, I remember when North Sea oil and Scotland should be independent, and then that would run the Scottish economy because we have all this North Sea oil right off our coast. That was a big thing about Scottish independence. We can look after ourselves. But clearly now with Sturgeon, it's oh no, we don't want oil anymore. So what's the economy going to be based upon?
Well, they keep
Well,
claiming that they've got all these resources to effectively be one of the most green and financially viable nations within the a European context. Like they claim that we're going to be rife with the minerals of hydrogen and our wind farms, etc., etc. No talk of nuclear power plants or anything like that. No, it's fine. Well, we'll thrive off the wind turbines, of course. And there was even a story came out the other week where they're planning to build wind turbines that the height of them, the only building that will be taller than them in the entirety of the UK is the Shard in London. That's how tall we're talking about here. Hundreds of feet tall wind turbines. Like,
right.
just destroy our countryside, but it's fine. We won't be allowed to the countryside anyway because we've got our 20-minute neighbourhoods to look forward to. That some might say is a conspiracy theorist, or a conspiracy theory, sorry, but nah. Like this is literally written in the S&P's documentation. Like people just see independence and that's all they think it is. There's like so many apathetic people in this country or whatever, and they hate England or they hate Westminster or whatever, and they just think that all their problems will be solved if they vote for independence. They don't realize that is just it's been totally subverted. They dangle this independence carrot and then they never get it. They never fulfill their promise of obtaining a referendum, and they're next election we'll get it. But in the meantime, we're just going to implement all this cancer to make your life a little bit harder,
Here, DJ, does Scotland not have quite a lot of birds of prey?
Yeah, it does. Like,
well, who the fuck's going?
That.
Yeah, who's getting the job of picking up the dead birds of prey from the base of the wind farms?
Well, we can't talk about that. Like, that's come on now.
Yeah, but
it's called question. They're not it.
Yeah, but it's the only industry in the world that gets a bad ball for killing fucking birds.
Yeah. All right. Even like that in and of itself is heinous, but the absolute destruction of the countryside. And these are the same people who will preach to no end about the new God. Step aside, Jesus Christ, because it's now time for the God of nature. We need to bow down and kiss the feet of everything that's green. But yet they just want to build all over it for more migrants while simultaneously destroying the hills and the mountains and whatnot with giant wind turbines. But we're doing it for the climate. Like, these people, there's no consistency with anything they say. The carbon footprint narrative, okay, fine. Well, why do you want open borders then? Like, nothing they say makes any sense. So
it's not designed to make any sense. It's a lot of it is once they've got a bunch of scientists and everything all twiddled around to say that wind farms work whenever they don't. And then they've got another bunch of scientists and doctors saying they can't figure out whether a newborn child's a boy or a girl. Then you've got another bunch of scientists inventing stuff about carbon dioxide and doctorates and all. They've got all those people locked in because if they pipe up about any other issue, they're going to be told, here, hold on, you're relying about this other thing. And so once they've bent the knee and told lies about one thing, they have to go along with all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And you can't, as a scientist or whatever, you can't get grants which pay for your wages without going along with the official narrative.
Mm-hmm. Same with all these organizations. Like, I seen it earlier on the day. I knew this anyway because it's sort of common knowledge, or an open secret, but it was handy to actually see it in black and white. But a good example of what you're talking about there is with this gender recognition bill, right? So the S&P are really on the back foot at this point because like the entire country's against them for the time being. But one of their only defenses, which is now falling apart at the seams, is the Women's Aid, and there was a few other women's organizations. They participated in the consultations and they were all for this bill. So if they're fine with it, you should be fine with it too. But what they didn't tell the public and what they didn't tell the news reporters when they were spouting this nonsense off was that all of these different NGOs and stakeholders, quote unquote, they're funded by the Scottish government, right? And if they go against whatever the Scottish government propose, they'll lose their funding. And so I seen it earlier on. I think it was Women's Aid or one of the other ones. It actually is in their small print on the back of their website, where it's explicitly state that they have to go along with whatever is presented to them. So they've got all these NGOs in to effectively nod like a good little dog to agree to what the SNP propose, and then the SNP trot on out to try and defend their bill by saying, "Oh well, they all agreed, so if they did, you should too." It's just cancer. They did the same with the hate crime bill as well. Like the entire country, nobody wanted it, but yet they rolled on in these social justice activists. Then it transpired that all these different groups on Scottish government payroll. So it's just a total. It is a dictatorship in Scotland, and I know that might sound over dramatic, but that is what it is. It's a literal dictatorship run by a bowl-cut-headed thing like fucking dictator. Eh?
It turns out 98% of scientists and activists agree with whatever their paymasters tell them.
Oh, aye. Money talks, eh?
Yeah.
And this thing here that I was reading, I mean, I'm not going to fucking ramble on about stuff because I don't have my screen shared, but that thing I was searching up earlier on, first paragraph, it says they'll focus specifically on immigration support with other employers dedicated to helping workers settle in Scotland, ensuring a high level of immigration of workers to Scotland. And this will be reviewed by the government as a key way of supporting Scotland's economic growth. So that thing I mentioned earlier on, all that funding, this is for their talent and attraction migration service, when the plan is, according to this, to ensure a high level of immigration. That is great. That is great, you know. So as I say, people can't afford to heat their houses and whatnot at the moment. You know, electricity bills fucking skyrocketing, and they're taking the piss, let's be honest. And they've got money to put aside for this shit, though, eh?
That's right. Yep, no, it's all for the GDP. Yep, praise the GDP.
But this is the thing, though. I don't know if this is something that where you are like, but here they're planning on moving away from GDP to a well-being economy, which is effectively the country will not be judged on how well it performs on, GDP-wise. It'll be judged on how happy people are and whether they're able to live, work, and play. Like, what? We're in an alliance with Canada, New Zealand, Wales, and Iceland.
Within the 15-mile cities or whatever it is. You know?
A well-being economy. There's a TED talk you can watch on YouTube with Durden talking about it. Like, it's just so fucking gay.
Oh, I think I know what their plan is. They're going to open up more call centers in Scotland and fill them with people from India, because the complaint is that we can't understand the Indians from the call center. But if they've stepped foot in Scotland, they'll be Scottish, and then people will be able to understand them.
Do you know, though, funny you say that, before a lot of these call centers ended up in India, a lot of them were up here in the Highlands. Because obviously, as the speech experts suggest anyway, and I'm just quoting them. Like they say that out of anywhere in the UK, Scottish Highlanders have got the best Queen's English with another tongue. Like, so we had the joy of running the call centers until they decided that they could pay BAMEs in India half the money.
Yeah, so, but they could open them back up and staff them with Indians and pay them the same dough.
Yeah, well, I suppose ideas like you know
something, DJ. I have these Tesco home delivery things, and if I ever have a problem, I call this number, and it's always a Scotsman or a Scottish woman on the phone.
That is weird.
Truly. And they're really nice people, really helpful. It's like, we'll refund that,
Plot twist, though, it'll be Pakistanis that were born in Scotland, probably.
No, because they have proper Scottish accents. They're definitely Scottish.
Aye, but, sounds can be deceiving and all that,
Well, I don't know. I think you're Pakistani, you know what they sound like, but there we go. Never mind. Small point. Just thought I'd make it.
It's unusual. Usually it's BAMEs.
Aye.
Anyway, back to you, 42.
Let's see. How about any other madness that we need to talk about from Scotland, DJ?
Oh, well, I could be here all night. Like, I mean, I could fucking. To be honest, they're planning on giving asylum seekers the right to vote.
Not that I think voting makes any difference anyway, but for those that do, they want to give the vote to 16-year-olds as well. So no, sorry, no, the 16-year-olds can already vote, and so can foreign nationals, but they want to give 16-year-olds the ability to stand for election, and then they want to give asylum seekers the right to vote. So Abdul comes over on his boat and he gets put up in a 5-star hotel, and while he's here, he can vote in our elections. Like, what the fuck's going on? Like, it's just a joke.
Well, that beggars belief because
It's treason, eh? That is the literal definition of treason at this point. It really is. Eh?
People could, hypothetically speaking, thanks to what the SNP have done over the last few years, they could get together and decide, well, what country in the West could we subvert? Oh, Scotland. We'll just move there. Instantaneously, we'll be able to fucking stand for election and vote and whatnot. So we'll move a rake of us over, and over time we'll subvert it. And if anything, somebody in the chat probably mentioning the wee hats, but I would say that this is ripe for the picking for Muslims. Really, just move over in abundance, and before you know it, it'll be an Islamic caliphate.
yes, I think you have a lot more chance of that with Islam than you do with Judaism.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally an open door policy waiting to be open, effectively.
Now, there are Islamic parties in Belgium and Holland, a couple of other countries. They don't have the numbers yet in the UK for to have a party. However, Scotland has the same stupid electoral system that we have. Fucking the single transferable vote.
I can't remember what it's called. It's sort of like it's not first past the post here though. It's
it's
like proportionate representation, sort of.
Oh, you vote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as many as you want, and whenever your one doesn't get through, then those votes are put on to a different person.
Yeah, I think so.
Right. Yes, that's what we have. It's called single transferable vote. It should be illegal. It's absolutely, but it is a system whereby they could get in numbers and get themselves elected via that system because it's fucking nuts.
Yeah, I mean, even other things as well, like because they gave foreign nationals the right to vote a few years ago, which I think is absolutely abhorrent, right? But let's just say that a politician rose to prominence in Scotland that was vehemently opposed to immigration. Well, every foreign national in the country who's like a European national or whatever, or even just like a BAME from Kenya or whatever, they're all going to vote against him, aren't they? Like if somebody rose to power who said some of the things that, like, say, PA speak about, for example, like voluntary repatriation, and we're going to close the borders, like no more people are getting in. Like these people are just going to vote against them. Like, and eventually it'll get to a point where it will not matter if every single Scottish person voted for that individual because it'll just be too many of them. Like the SNP are handing our country over. I mean, the country is not controlled by us anyway. As I said earlier on, we're occupied, but they are handing the country over to whomever wishes to pick up the pieces. It's not like it's just they're begging for it. They're begging to be subverted and governed hard. You know what I mean? Fucking, it's a disgrace. An absolute fucking disgrace. And the only word I can think of is just pure treachery. And Westminster, this just goes to show what a shower of shit they are, because they have the ability to shut down that parliament and do nothing. Do fucking nothing. Just sit and allow it to happen. They're watching Scotland turn into an absolute cesspool. Wales isn't far behind, let's be honest. And what are they doing? Nothing.
Oh, we have just kicked over a year of having our assembly shut down.
Any word on developments there? Like,
no, there's not going to be. That assembly is not coming back until the agreement, the protocol agreement, is sorted out. and until Northern Ireland is back within the UK for trade and stuff, that assembly's not coming back.
Fuck. I mean, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Well, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, but the DUP are holding out there saying we're not going back in unless this is sorted out and we're fully our constitutional places. And they don't really have a choice about it, because if they do go back in, their voting base is gone.
Yeah. Which then opens the door to
yeah. What will happen is the DUP vote will go to the TUV, Traditional Unionist Voice, and they're under no illusion whatsoever that if they want to stay as a party that actually gets votes, they cannot go back in.
Fucking hell. Does that mean policy can be passed while there's nobody there? Or
well, we're currently being run by the civil service and the Northern Ireland minister. Yep.
No.
Now, he did bring in the abortion laws, which haven't really been ratified or put into place. That's all a little bit dicey, but civil Exile Viking said on race, yes, that could well be coming. The posters are already up on the wall. There was pictures of I think it was the Irish tea shop, went on all the phone boxes around here, and I think it was him, and it said, no, actually it was the Northern Ireland minister, and the caption above it was, a return to violence is not... A return to violence is very possible.
Well, on that point, Opinionated Scotsman in your chat there said that the UK government wants rid of Northern Ireland, in his opinion, and that's sort of an opinion I sort of share a bit on the basis of it, but it goes into what I said earlier on about one of my theories is that the long-term plan is the breakup of the UK, which would involve whether it's forced or amicable, the sort of reunification of Ireland, and then Wales goes back into the EU independently, Scotland goes into the EU independently, and Northern Ireland sucked up by Republic of Ireland. And that could make sense in the sense that the EU and the UK government have just treated Northern Ireland as a fucking political football.
Well, I don't think that the British government or the Irish government have the stomach for what a unification of Ireland would bring. Because if we're going to do that, the first thing to do is send out for a shitload of body bags.
No, I think as I say, I could be totally wrong, but I think this is a long-term plan. So they've laid the groundwork as it is. Like Sinn Féin have already started to gain a little bit of ground in your local elections. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would have been unfucking heard of 20 years ago.
Well, it's actually 20 years ago, Sinn Féin were the largest nationalist party. They've been the main... they've been the main nationalist party for around about 25, 30 years. You've got to go quite the ways back to whenever they were the minor nationalist party. Andy Belshaw saying, no more brother wars, time to unite. I'll agree. Them fuckers ain't my brother. Here's the thing. If anybody, the notion that Unionists and national British and Irish people will join together, the only way that is possible is if the Irish renounce their claims on Northern Ireland, because while they want my country, while they want our country, we ain't going to go quietly into the night.
Yeah.
Their move.
I don't know.
They want,
just when you just look at what I don't know. I just think that's the long-term plan. I could be
Oh,
wrong. I just think there's no other explanation for why devolution was allowed to occur. And I know like it was different where you live, but like look what's happened in Wales and Scotland ever since devolution. It's just been a further push to become irritable parts of the UK, to piss off Westminster. The movements themselves have been totally subverted, and all they do now is they're gaining momentum and publicity and support and funding, etc., to just break away, but not to become independent nations, or as some people make the argument, well, they're not pro-independence, they're just anti-English. No, they're pro-EU, like, you know. So I think that's what the long-term plan is: break up the UK and then shove it all back into the EU, whether we fucking like it or not.
42.
Yep.
I've noticed there have been a lot of anti-immigration demonstrations in Dublin.
Yeah, there are.
Recently.
Do you want to know the most interesting? Do you want to know the most interesting thing about that?
Well, I was only going to ask the question: is that happening in Northern Ireland? You know more about this than I do.
Not as such. There have been protests outside hotels where the immigrants live, that on an ongoing measure.
There's a big one tomorrow in Erskine, near Glasgow.
Yep. But what I will say is, see in all those anti-immigration protests in the Republic of Ireland, you'll notice that their banners are saying something about the plantation. They don't just want rid of the immigrants; they want rid of the British as well.
Really?
Yep. Why else would they be using the word plantation? Which comes from the so-called plantation of Ulster in the 1600s.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Explain that. Yeah.
Right. You had an event called the first massacre of the Protestants, where a load of Catholics came to Protestant houses, drove them out, killed a few, but mostly just sent them out into the wilderness. And then after that, a load of their kith and kin from Scotland came over to help defend them. And this movement of people from Scotland and north of England to Ulster is what they call a plantation. And their theory is that Ireland's for the Irish, and these people that come in, the planters.
So, are we talking 17th century? Are we talking Cromwell?
Pre Cromwell.
Okay.
I think the second massacre of the Protestants was 1641, where they marched them all down to the banks of rivers, and the river and the water turned red with blood not discriminated between man, woman, and child. So that area, they call that the plantation, and they say that this is where the British people and Ulster came from. There's a small, slight problem in that the British people that inhabited all of Ireland were there from the original inhabitants, and the Celts, who are the Irish nationalists, Catholics now, didn't arrive until between 500 and 250 BC. But they call us the planters.
We Frenchies.
Yeah. It was actually the Celts that are now the Roman Catholics or the Irish nationalists that invaded the settled land. But
same here.
Yeah, with them using the term plantation in their anti-immigration thing, they're wanting rid of those new immigrants, and they've always been saying Brits out and get rid of the planters and all that sort of stuff. So, while they're still using that rhetoric, I don't see much chance of people uniting to go against the immigrants because, apart from anything else, they don't want us here. They're hardly going to want us to join with them, and we are ethnically different.
Oh, I do think you must have
Yeah.
a bit of Viking up there in Northern Ireland. Because
Yeah, I know Ragnar does. Ragnar's like what 70%.
I've certainly seen some very beautiful Irish girls with ginger hair.
Yes, you've got a bit of Viking, you've got a bit of Pict,
Yeah.
you've got Cornethia, and there was always a lot of trade and travel between Ireland and Scotland. First king of Ireland was Henry v. One Woman. The kings of Ireland go way, way, way back. In the 3rd century BC, the son of Fergus, king of Ireland, went to Scotland with his Egyptian bride, Scotia, bringing with them the sandstone that.
But see that is that actually? This is one thing I will push back on about. I don't know if I believe that story about this fucking Egyptian princess. Like, I don't know if I believe it. Like, is there actually any proof, or is it just one of those sort of fairy tales? It's something I've never ever been able to say I believe with 100% certainty. And before you answer that, there's a question from Atlantis. If you want to highlight that for after, it's quite a good question.
Right, hold on. Right, I'll tell you what I do know. Around about 2013, 2014, I had links for documents that relate to all that about Scotia and whatnot, and they're no longer findable on the internet. There's been a great scrubbing. So I honestly don't know. There's a couple of groups on Facebook that are quite good with that history and stuff. I'm going to go in and ask a couple of questions and see what I can come out with.
My ex, the mother of my son, like, she had all these documents about it. She was mad for that theory, but I read some of them and I was like, I don't know, fucking no, that's the first I'd ever heard of it. Obviously, the alternative version of history is that that's where Scotland gets its name from. It's named after her. I'm like, you want me to believe Scotland, one of the oldest countries in Europe, is named after an Egyptian princess? I don't know. I just don't know if I believe it, really.
The story is they went across in the 3rd century, 3rd century before Christ, and their descendants were known as the descendants of Scotland.
Because there is allegedly an ethnic group, or there was back in the day. There was the Picts, there was the Celts, and then there was the Scotia. Now, if you disbelieve the theory completely, then it would just leave the Picts and the Celts, like no Scotia at all. But there is evidence to suggest, and I'm not an expert, by the way. I'm just like, I have seen stuff in the past here and there that. What are these words called? It like haplogroups or whatever. There was 3 historically in Scotland, so I don't know. It's just one of those things where I think it's a bit far fetched, but I can't rule it out because they say that about the Picts as well. They think the Picts was one of the lost tribes of Israel. So
I haven't heard about the lost tribe of Israel bit.
Yeah, they had a lot of the same habits that the Jews have. Like they traced their lineage through their mother, apparently. They had the same eating habits, like certain foods they wouldn't consume. There was something else they did as well. Like when it came to like praying to their God or whatever, they faced. It wasn't like Mecca type shit, but they did something that like ancient Jews used to do, apparently.
If that's true, there would be a difference in the burials. The way people are buried tends to give a lot of that up.
I don't know about how they were buried, actually.
I'm guessing this is
But
a
that was
question
another
for-
thing. Somebody sent me a link back when I had a BitChute account, and like there was an excavation that was done several years ago where they found buried like a couple of like Pictish, like the remainders of a Pictish stronghold, and there was like remnants and fragments of tools left, which were identical to tools and whatnot that were found in the province or the the area of what's modern day Israel.
Right.
So
Do you have burial mounds over there?
I don't know actually. I don't think so. If there is, I've never been to one.
Right. We have large burial mounds at Newgrange, and on winter solstice, 21st of December, this is like a big mound that's been covered over. And there's a shaft that goes in, and sunrise on the 21st of December, winter solstice, the sun rises, it lights up the shaft that goes straight through the middle and illuminates the bits to the right and left side that were carved out where all the bodies were put. And they were built by the same people that would have purportedly went from Ulster to Scotland with Skoda and the Stone of Skoda and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Maybe you'll be right. Wait, what's this? I'm looking at an article now. In Scotland, one of the largest Pictish cemeteries ever found has been uncovered by archaeologists, believed to be at least 1,400 years old. The find is expected to throw a new light onto the Picts who play such a critical role in the history of the British Isles. I'm going to have a wee look at that.
Okay.
But
I take it this is a question you were talking about from Atlantis. What does everyone see in their own life Britain being like in 2030, 40, and 50? I'll go first in this. 2030, barring any changes provided nothing gets worse with the agreement with the protocol, I would say 2030 is going to be pretty much the same as what it is now. 2040, I would say Northern Ireland will, in all likelihood, be in conflict, and that conflict will still be going in 2050.
On that topic, 42, I just looked up my wife's DNA results. You might find this quite interesting. It says she's 92% Irish and 8% Scottish. And in Ulster, it says, is it Louth and Monaghan? Is that how you pronounce it?
Monaghan?
Monaghan, Louth and Monaghan and Tyrone, Londonderry and Antrim.
Yeah.
And then from Central Ireland, South Leitrim and North Roscommon. It doesn't actually say where she is in Scotland, but I thought that might be
most of that's Ulster.
Most of that is Ulster, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Monaghan and Londonderry is Ulster. I'm going to do this very quickly. Andy Belsh, sure. Big question here. Would the Irish prefer black foreigners in their country or white British? Black foreigners.
I don't believe that.
Oh, if they were going to accept white British, they'd have done it before now.
Oh, please, come on.
Oh, if they were going to accept white British people in the country, they would have done it before now. How many fucking years? How long has this been going on? It's been going on from the 1600s. Before that, this row between This row between the British and the Irish dates back to before Christ. They don't want this here. If they were going to decide that they were happy to have white British in their country, they would have decided that before now.
Yes. I suppose it's sort of similar attitude to some people in Scotland, to be honest. They take Pakistanis or Somalians or whatever here any day of the week over English people do. Which I find perplexing, but that's just the reality.
Yep. Like that's why on their placards and their banners they've got the word plantation, because they're lumping us in along with the new arrivals.
I don't know. I mean, they're getting a wee taste of what the future is going to hold for them, like. But
Yeah, they may well change their mind. They might have.
I think as trends continue, as they inevitably will, they'll get to a point where they might. I'm not saying that they overall won't still despise you or you know, but I think you'll become secondary when there's issues on their own doorstep. They won't be giving a fuck about what you lot over the border. Eh?
Yeah, they may have a come to Jesus moment and go, "Holy fuck, those British people weren't actually that bad."
Yeah.
But until they do, and I would say that come to Jesus moment where they decide that would rather have white British than black wherever will happen first in the Republic of Ireland. And it's going to take the people in the Republic of Ireland to explain it to the people, the nationalists in Northern Ireland.
Well, as soon as they see what's going to happen in terms of crime and stabbing rates in Dublin and other cities, I think they may well change their mind. Don't you think?
It is possible, but explaining how the situation is as it sits right now.
Yeah, I follow quite a few Irish channels on Telegram, and in fairness, I don't see any anti-British sentiment or whatever. The only post I've seen where there was a guy going mental about the fact that they spent all these years, decades and decades and decades, trying to get their independence from the UK, only to hand it over to foreigners. So, you know, if that's the sort of sentiment that grows, then, you know, you never know what the future holds.
Yeah, but they haven't broached the question yet of should we join forces with the white British. See until they decide to broach that question. That's whenever that'll all come out.
Yeah.
You honestly, it would be an interesting for anybody that follows or talks to the people from down south, the likes of Computing Forever or whatever. It would be an interesting question for them.
Yeah. No doubt.
I remember going on a rugby club tour to Dublin in my 20s, and we walked into the wrong pub. Thankfully, there were enough of us there to defend ourselves, but it was basically, you're not welcome here, English, you know. We hurried up our drinks and left, but yeah, it was it was one of those scenarios which you didn't want to repeat. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's the joys of being Scottish. It doesn't matter where you go, people seem to like you. I don't know how long it'll last for, to be honest, since we're a national embarrassment. But back in the day, we were well liked wherever we went for whatever reason. But I doubt it now, to be honest. But I used to get that when I went on holiday and that people in America, when I was in America, like, are you British? Well, aye. Are you English? No. Scottish? Aye. Oh my God, you're Scottish. And then they'd be all over you. Like fucking free cake, free tea, whatever it was you were having at the time. All over you. But when they assumed there's the way they would ask if you're English, though, like with an element of disdain in their voice. I don't know why. I think it's because English people, they've got a stereotype when they're on holiday, but they're just total nerds. You know, the socks and sandals and I don't know if that's what it is, but the minute they found out you're Scottish, their whole demeanor changed instantaneously. So,
TJ, I remember going to a restaurant in Philadelphia, and they had these little placemats, and you could write a message on it. And I wrote, "No, I am not Australian." Everyone thought I was Australian. It's crazy.
oh my God. When we went in New York, we were in this Italian cafe that was like across the road from our hotel. And the first day that we were there, the guy, he was really funny, this waiter, but we heard him saying to like the lassie who was in the kitchen, he's like, "Oh, guys are English." They're English. But he came over and he started making small talk. But he said it with that's what I was meaning there, like proper disgust. "Oh, we're English." And then he came over at one point and he was making small talk on my granddad because my granddad overheard him as well. And he's like, "Oh, by the way, we're not English, we're Scottish." And you should have seen his face. It dropped. He's like, "You're Scottish? Oh my God!" Like, and then like he gave me free chocolate cake. He gave my granddad a free beer. And then he sat down with us to tell us that he's got family in fucking Scotland and whatnot. I'm not saying that Scottish people are well liked around the world, but what a difference in character that we got. There was a strange tension in there when this guy, like, I was convinced he's probably going to spit him a toasty when he thought it was English. Then he finds out we're Scottish. Different story, yeah.
That's a great story. Yeah.
That's true. Fucking late. We went there every day. That guy was a fucking character. But we overheard him saying, "Oh, English, oh my God."
Right, lads, it's coming up to 1 o'clock. I've done 2.5 hours. My throat's beginning to go. So I'm going to wrap this up very, very shortly. Any last thoughts or anything?
No, I just shared that to her because it was quite a good wee chat, but no danger. It's all good. I'll cope. I won't cry.
When are you next streaming, 42?
Next Saturday night.
Okay.
Next Saturday night, 10:30 will be my next one. I'm going to be sticking with one a week. And then definitely because I'm on night shift next week as well. So that's
that's good, 42. I can't put up with you more than once a week, to be honest.
Yeah. The other thing, Rory, while you're on, we'll need to figure out. You wanted to come on and do a bit about the Irish Civil War. It's something I don't know a lot about, so I'll be very happy to have you on. We'll need to figure out a date and stuff for that.
Yeah. Might be a bit spicy.
Yep. All good. All good.
All right.
What I will say is the Irish Civil War, I don't have a dog in that fight. That was people, and that was two nationalist groups in Ireland fighting each other. I don't really have a dog in that fight.
Yeah. TJ, just to put that into perspective, my last comment, my grandfather was in the 4th Northern Division of the IRA. Yeah. So we could discuss who was a nationalist.
Wow.
Yep. But that was back in the time whenever they were actual Irish nationalists in the Irish Civil War. A totally different bunch of people to the official Irish Republican Army or the Provisional Irish Republican Army that we got from 1969.
That reminds me just on that, right before you end that stream, because it's the same principle obviously in Scotland, but I've got something open in a tab that I was going to do some with at some point, but just let me show you this. Like, I'll share my screen. Can I just share my screen for like 2 seconds?
Right, give us 1 second. Right, stop that one. Yep.
Share screen. Here we go. Let me get it up. Chrome tab. And that one there. Good stuff. Paul, just for anybody that wasn't aware.
Paul, Sinn Féin were commies whenever they started. They didn't have a change.
Oh no, this is the opposite of that, effectively. The real Scottish National Party from back in the day. Arthur Donaldson was one of the first members of the SNP after it was founded in 1934. He was interned in 1941 for being a Nazi sympathiser. He later served as a leader of SNP from 1960 to 1969. Right? He says here that we must be able to show the German government that we are organised and that we have a clear-cut policy for the betterment of Scotland, though we have tried our best to persuade the English government that we want independence and that we are not in with them in this war. If we can do that, you can be sure that Germany will give us every possible assistance in our struggle. The time is not yet right for us to start a virile campaign against England, but when fire and confusion is at its height in England, we can start in earnest. And here's him pictured with members of the Hitler Youth. You know? Fast forwards to where we are now, and it's cut your cock off and call yourself Denise. So we've come a long way, very progressive.
Well, the Republic of Ireland did have submarine pens for refueling and refitting for the German U-boats during World War II and Donegal.
Sounds like the SCP were the same kettle fish, like.
There's a reason why all the defences in Northern Ireland pointed south.
Well, fact then that the SNP didn't have any power back then, I suppose. That said, though, we've talked about this before, but they went from being staunchly very, 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 quote, arguably right-wing, if you want to call it that, to the polar opposite. So, if I had to pick and choose, I'd probably say the former as opposed to the latter. Not that I'm in any way saying I'm a...
Yep. They have dropped the national out of the socialist.
Yeah. They've gone full commie.
Yep. The National Socialist Workers' Party were very left wing, but only for that individual country. Whereas communism is a worldwide effort, and that's where they differed.
Aye. Well, that's food for thought. Unless you're vegan, then go fuck yourself.
I seen a meme the other day. It was a picture of Spock and Captain Kirk, and Kirk's asking, "What do you know?" He says, "Well, I've been observing them for 10 minutes, and all I can tell you is they're definitely not vegan." And Kirk says, "How?" He says, "Well, they haven't told me in 10 minutes."
That's a fair point. That is a fair point, actually. They're like gays. Gays like, the LGBT gays anyway. They like to tell you they're part of the LGBT every 2 minutes.
Yes, I'm a rainbow. I wonder would you fuck off.
I slam oppressed every 2 minutes. It's like, shut up.
Right. I'm going to play the outro and get this all shut up. Here, Rory, before I do that, any last thoughts?
No. Just to say thank you so much for having me on.
Always a pleasure.
And to next time. And looking forward to the music. And hello, DJ, too. And good night.
Good night, good day.
Right. Okay. Here we go.
The paradigm of absolute control. And that's why we're just out here doing simple things, pointing out that we're meant to be in nature and be natural. And this is where we find the source that God made to transcend the New World Order. And that's why they want to try to keep us out of it.
I'm angry. I've had enough of these people. They're a bunch of Christian murder scum. They're on giant death factories keeping babies alive, selling their body parts. What more do you need to know about these people? I go out and face these scum. They literally crawl out from under rocks. They have green looking skin, and they run around screaming, we love Satan, we want to eat babies. I have them on video. Hillary's in the creepy, weird, sick stuff, man. She sleeps in the same room with that creepy, weird woman whose mother wears a hood over her head. That woman number one is ugly. Imagine how bad she smells, man. I'm told her and Obama just stink. Obama and Hillary both smell like sulfur. Literal vampire pot and the goblins are hobbling round coming after us. My spirit gets close to that evil and I feel it go. We're such self-centered crap, we don't even notice hell itself rising up against us. Millions of born people of the very worst type, and I'm so pissed. We're gonna stab your daughter at the mall. We're gonna stab your wife, your son. We're gonna stab you with a butcher knife, and then the police chief is gonna say, we love our Somalis, we love our Muslims. Oh, they're so good, oh, they're so sweet.
Right, everybody, thanks very much. Rory's been Rory, DJ's been DJ, I've been 42, and you lot in the comments have been fucking awesome as always. Good night, God bless, and I'll see you all next week. Goodbye.